Hello, everybody, and welcome back for another episode of Unplugged Live, the series where we talk to real people about significant life changes that they've made in their lives or tools that they incorporate on an everyday basis to either better support themselves or to live life to the fullest. Now, today, I am so glad to be joined by Dara Blake. Dara is a 365-day sea swimmer. He's a teacher and a PT. He also is a well-known mental health advocate and really eats, lives, breathes all things fitness and well-being. He's also currently studying a master's in well-being at the moment. And his passion and purpose is to work with others who want to make significant changes in their lives, to improve their well-being, to become better, fitter, stronger versions of themselves on an everyday basis. And so today we'll be talking all things well-being, fitness, about Dara's mental health journey himself, and also what on earth led him to swim 365 days in a row, and why, out of all he's learned along the way, that was only just the beginning. So I'm just seeing Dara's joined in now, so I'm going to add him on in. Hi, Dara. How are you going?
Good morning. I'm very well. How are you?
Good morning. The sun is shining in Melbourne today. It's a nice start to the day so far.
Absolutely gorgeous. I'm a bit blown away now by that introduction, Ash. There now, you're too kind with your words, but I appreciate it all the same. So thank you for that introduction.
Oh, not at all. All very true too. And I think it's always funny when you hear someone else talk about you and you know all that you do as well. You're like, oh, that's me. That's what I do in my everyday, which is pretty impressive.
Uh,
You have a
I,
pretty impressive biography there.
I don't know about that. You've got a strong plant game going on in the background there. I like what's going on.
Thanks. I'm a very proud plant mama, so that means a lot. So I
I'm not
guess, oh, you have some tea, nice,
yeah.
very nice. So I guess welcome to Unplugged Live. Thanks for joining us today. Before we get into it and learn a little bit more about you and all the wonderful things that you do in this world, I always love to start by a bit of a check-in and ask, I guess, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is feeling, stressed, overwhelmed, exhausted, not so very good at all, and 10 is feeling on top of the world, energized, motivated, really good. Where do you reckon you're sitting today?
Today I'm hitting an 8 or 9, I think. Was up early this morning. My motto and a couple of my friends' motto is win the morning. So we got up for sunrise this morning. I had a client this morning. She absolutely smashed her workout. And then I did a 5K run with a couple of friends just to celebrate. I don't know, are we allowed to call it Australia Day, or I don't know, call it these days, but
Public holiday.
That public holiday, that's where we'll go. That's good. And then I just did a swim in Brighton. There was just a swim there, a 5K swim. So I'm absolutely buzzing now to get that finished. So I'd say I'm hitting an 8 or 9 definitely this morning.
Nice, definitely. It makes all the difference when you start the day, from the inside out, and like you said, win the morning.
Absolutely, yeah. Definitely with my life anyway, just that you're pulled left and right and center, and if you don't kind of make time for yourself, the only time I can really make that for myself is the morning, and you're in charge of that, and then the rest of the day is a bit simpler. You talked there in the introduction about the sea swimming and things like that, and you said like there was a group of us, and a couple of us in the group, we did 365 days, and it's kind of like it's like life. There was some great days like there are, and then there was absolutely some horrible days where it was cold and wet and water was absolutely freezing all over the place and things like that. But I think it's days like that that make you appreciate the really nice days that you have today. And like it gives you a bit of challenge as well. You can appreciate the good times a bit more when you go through stuff like that. And same story, like I guess with a lot of work you're doing through mental health and things like that, there will always be hard times, there will always be ups, there will always be downs though as well. And I think from the downs you find who your character is and you learn the most from that. I guess I've got a background in sport as well, in football, and I've played a bit of AFL over here with teams, like, and you either win the game or else you learn. Remember that before, so you learn probably more from the bad days than you do with the good days, things like that. So I don't know how I got on that. I start
That's all good. No, it's there's a lot of words of wisdom and nuggets of wisdom there, that's for sure. I mean, you touched on a little bit there about your background in inter-county football, and you know, you've always had a kind of a sporting background. Was fitness, well-being, mental health, has that always been something that you've been involved in, or was there, you know, pivotal points that led you to that, or how did you get into, I guess, what it is that you do? Because obviously you're also a teacher, so I mean, there's kind of a bit of the Dara by day and the Dara by almost morning or evening as well. So how is it that you got into what it is that you do these days?
Great question. It's I guess probably in school, like, I definitely wasn't the highest achiever. I would have probably got into a bit of trouble in school and definitely not top of the class, definitely not where I want my students to be. And I think I've always had to work hard in sport and in the classroom as well. And lessons like that, like, it didn't become naturally to me. And I guess hard work at the end of the day does pay off in a lot of things. Like, I learned that lesson. With the swimming, I remember a story. I was 11 or 12 years old, and I'm from Liscannor in County Clare, and we had a swimming pool in the Hinch, which like was amazing and brilliant stuff like that. And there was talks around the primary school that the swimming club getting set up and things like that. So I kind of rocked down some Tuesday or Thursday evening to the swimming club, and I went in, and I had possibly had a bit of a reputation at that age, and I wasn't allowed to join the swimming club. And then for years, and I think it's an important lesson, is like, I played the blame game. I was like, oh, I'm not a swimmer, I can't swim. It's these people's fault that I can't swim. I had lots of friends out here when I moved to Australia. We did like the pier to pub and all those different kind of swims, and they'd head off for weekends and have that fun. And I kept on blaming people. Like, I kept on blaming the people who wouldn't let me join the swimming club and things like that. So, and like, a lot of people do that in life, and I'm guilty of it as well. Probably about 2 years ago, I was like, all right, stop blaming people. This is up to you. And I started swimming, and I'm still a pretty average swimmer, but I really enjoy it. And remember one summer's evening about a year ago, I had a bit of apparition. I was out in the bay. It was a nice summer's evening, and I was slogging away, like, boom, boom, getting out of breath, trying to work on my stroke, all that kind of stuff. And it just came to me in my head, and it was just like, Dara, what a beautiful evening it is here. You would not be out here enjoying this evening if you were allowed to join that swim club back, whatever, 15 years ago, probably longer actually. And, stop blaming them. You're now here for a reason. You're enjoying this beautiful evening. You're out in the middle of the day. The whole world is in COVID, lockdown, whatever like that, and you're here, whatever, nature, having a swim. And not a hope you would be doing that, trying to improve yourself if you're allowed to join the swim club that time. So I think it was just a reality check for me. And you get it. You probably see it a lot with your clients as well. blame is such a powerful thing, and it's the easy way out. You can always blame someone else for not being where you want to be. My parents never helped me out. I hear that all the time. I'm not as fit as you. I'll show you pictures of me 10 or 12 years ago. Ash, I was definitely not in a great place. I was overweight. And like, if you put in the work and you're consistent, and basically discipline sets you free, you're allowed, you have that discipline with yourself. You have that delayed gratification of, I'm not just, all these 8-week challenges and 12-week challenges. They're absolutely great for a start, but where after that, you need to be kind of consistent with it.
Your own devices almost. That's when the real work begins.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great one.
Yeah, it's so interesting, when you talk about there, you talk a lot about blame and how, and I know in the work that I do too, you share a lot about how, there's incredible fulfillment, contentment, joy, that can be found in this life when you're not held hostage by the voice in your own head, and how we can be very quick to either lay the blame on it's someone else's fault, where we do have a responsibility for our own happiness and how it is that we show up every day. But also, I guess, how when we can let go of that and when we can kind of step out of our own way sometimes too, that we recognize that and we realize that, we do have a lot more, there's a lot that we don't have control over, but we do have a lot of control over our thoughts and over our actions and what we choose to give airtime to and what we don't. And we can flip that switch. So it sounded like an incredible perspective that you had there, even here in Melbourne, and you could have gotten very caught up in the lockdowns and the blaming and this, that, and the other if we're in this situation. But to recognize that, when you're out there actually swimming in this beautiful bay, in this weather, in this amazing country, to be like, it's actually, life is pretty good. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. It's about that perspective. It's Shakespeare's famous quote, there's no good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And then I know it's easy to say it, but it's just a good reminder for people that you choose how your response and the space between your stimulants and response is where you find that your well-being is caught up in. And with the swimming, yeah, absolutely. And with the swimming as well, like it didn't really set out to do 365 days. It was just I just had a friend and we started swimming, and all of a sudden we were like, oh, we probably swam 30 days in a row. We were delighted with ourselves. And we just like, oh, let's go for another bit. And then people joined in on the journey as well. And it's part of definitely my purpose is to celebrate in other people's success, and that's what I get my kicks out of. That's what I get my enjoyment out of, and the other people, Aaron and Mary, who've done the 365-day swim as well. Like, leading up to that, they're whatever 50 days out or 20 days out, like that. Just the buzz up to that, and the having a target and having a goal around that, like was massive for all of us. We have we set up a kind of a group. It was the Snob Squad out here. We've got t-shirts and a bit of merch.
Very nice.
But we kind of like your own group. We started the swimming. We just were basically a group of friends. We challenged each other during the lockdown. Some of the girls did, they've done half Ironmans, they've done marathon. One of the girls has been up to doing a marathon swim, which is like a 10K swim. We basically started with hot goggles. things like that. But it's just in the community that we've built around it so important. And I'll just tell you one story. There's this old French man that we meet every morning when we swim down in St Kilda. So his name is Louis. He kind of shuffles down to meet us every morning. He's 82 years old now. He's a life and soul of the party. Every morning, if we're late, he'll tell us we're late. He gives he's not shy coming forward with a bit of lip to us. But a couple of months ago, it was his birthday, and got a son and daughter, and they're up in Queensland. And I think it was during the end of the last lockdown, and we made him like a surprise birthday, cake and a t-shirt and a few more things like that, and just we danced like the girls danced with him all morning, and just the enjoyment shooting him and the different people you meet along the way is just, that's the most important really. It's about the people you meet and how they respond to you and how you can give back to them. And he tells us stories like about St Kilda, what it was like 40 years ago. He might tell us the same story every day, but
maybe he just along the way.
yeah, occasionally he'll give us some nuggets of information, and meeting people and respecting elderly people like that, is massive out here for us, because not having, I guess, those big family figures too much with our group. He's one of our own at the moment.
I love that. So good. I saw just there a comment, Louis the Legend. Love that. I'll have to meet Louis someday. So obviously, you don't hail from these waters. We come from the same motherland. I'd love to know, you touched on a little bit about, what life was growing up there and how things looked very different, back in, did you say it was Liscannor in Clare? Sorry, from? Yeah. What was life like for, Dara growing up in Liscannor, County Clare versus how it is in Melbourne?
Yeah, I guess I talk about going to school in Liscannor. My mum was the local teacher. She taught me for 3 years, so that obviously wasn't too easy. But
Wow.
I think I always used sport as my escapism. Again, coming from a small town, everyone knows everyone. We're so lucky. Like, my parents are absolutely amazing people. We live beside the sea. Had always food on the table, always something to do. Then going into my, I guess, 20s after that, probably got caught up in the Irish probably drinking style culture like that from university, and I thought, I guess the wholesome side of things wasn't even on my radar. I didn't even know anything about, we'll say, well-being or meditation or looking after yourself or nutrition or anything like that. That was just the norm. I probably just didn't have, probably was hanging around a different crew at the time, and we all just, that's what we did. We partied at the weekend, and then the next weekend we did the exact same thing and things like that. But I think coming out to Australia, and I think just seeing, if you get up like whatever 5 or 6 a.m, the amount of people that are outside, doing yoga on the beach, swimming, running, cycling, training anyway, like that, you just eventually it sinks in and you give it a go. And I guess for my own mental health, that's what works for me. That's my release. Definitely during COVID and lockdown like that, there was mornings that I would get into the water, and I was kind of just fresh off a breakup myself, just going into COVID, and I know people were dealing with lots of harder stuff than that. but like I'd literally get my head in underwater and like scream, like shout as loud as I could, like no one could hear you, like under the water. But that's what I loved about the sea swim, and it's like, especially the cold water, and when it's like a really rough day out, when you're out there swimming, you can't think of anything else. It's it's you and the ocean, and if you're thinking about something else, you're going off target, you're going off shore, stuff like that. So it is a type of, I guess, reboot for me. You know, when you're getting into really freezing water like that, you can't think of anything else that's happening in your life. You can't think of anything negative. You can't think of that negative self-talk that's going on in your head. It's just you basically are where your feet are. And I think it's an important message. And in school, we do a lot of work with the kids about being where their feet are. It is, you know, it's great being a kid these days, but there's also lots of challenges, particularly with social media and things like that. And I'm so lucky to be a teacher, and I'm so lucky to work with people in school. We do a lot of work around wellbeing that I would never dreamed of teaching, or never would have dreamed of having like that when I was growing up. We did a lesson this year, work with a couple of amazing staff, and it was about the last time they cried. So if you can imagine your primary school teacher, you know, sitting in front of the class or sitting in a circle with the class, talking about the challenges in his life or her life, and about the last time they cried and stuff like that. And it was really that vulnerability that the students saw, and thank God we have amazing students. One of the students talked about the last time they cried, and it was actually one of the popular boys in the class. You know, he was really good at sport, school captain, and he talked about pride when he went home yesterday evening, because he had a fight with someone in school, and when he went home, he ran up to his room and started crying. So literally, in the space of about 20 minutes, we had, like, you know, the most popular guys and girls in the school. We had, you know, the less popular, we'll say, the nerdy type ones, looking at them and saying, "Oh wow, this guy he cries like I cry."
They're really, just like me.
Yeah, exactly. It was a really powerful message. And last year we just had an amazing year with the kids, because they all talked about their vulnerabilities. They all talked about, you know, what they're scared of, what they're nervous about, etc. And great message. I think when you're like that with people, when you're honest, when you're vulnerable with people like that, amazing come out. And I know from your stuff, Ash, that's your honesty and your vulnerability is really helped me, and has really helped a lot of people I know. And just it's pure, it's honest, it's amazing. So keep up the good work.
Thank you. I mean, and you, and all the work that you do, and between teaching and your PT stuff and your communities, like, it's very clear and obvious that mental health is such a big passion of yours, and you are such a wonderful advocate, you know, for all sorts of communities over here. But hello.
Sorry.
We've got a friend. Why is it that, you know, it's such an important topic to you? You know, what has been your own experience with mental health, if you're happy to share?
I think in life you're always going to have some challenges, like, and you could be having a 9 out of 10 day, as I said, and you could get a phone call, or something will happen. Something is going to happen. I love the Stoics, Stoic philosophy on, like, Marcus Aurelius, all Ryan Holiday stuff on Stoicism, and they basically meditate on their deaths. They would say, what's it like? What are you going to look back in your life when you're 90, 95 years old on your deathbed? What are you going to regret? What are you going to wish you had done? What do you not wish you had done? And there's different things. What it is for me is it's like getting in the water. It's exercise that kind of helps my mental health the most. And that kind of, I do a lot of reading. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I do meditate. I've done a lot of listen to a lot of your stuff. I've listened to I do a lot of Deepak Chopra stuff and Oprah Winfrey stuff. I've done a few of their challenges. And meditation is medicine basically for your mind. So a lot of us think we need physical health, but we kind of slack off on our medicine for our mind. Then by doing all these things beforehand, like the prehab, it helps you during when something bad happens, when you have a breakup, when someone in your family dies, when you lose your job and things like that. Life will have its ups and downs, and it's basically how you respond to those things, and do the work beforehand and have your values, keeping your values strong. What it is for me, my number one is like, can I contribute to helping someone else out that day? Can I win the morning by getting some exercise done? And if we do another thing with the mental health with the kids, a great one. I've been trying to do with my small squad group. They're slowly but surely getting on board. It's just switching their perspective and ask 3 questions. So we'll ask them, what's something nice that someone did for you today? So I could say, I met Ash today and Ash bought me coffee. And then the next question is, what's something nice that you did for someone? So it kind of switches your mindset, and you're like, that's something nice I did for someone. I walked my friend's dog, or I clean the kitchen for my partner, clean the room or whatever. And the last question is, what are you looking forward to? And you could be looking forward to a holiday, or you could be looking forward to Friday or something like that. But actually switch your perspective because naturally we all go negative always, and well, most people do, and it just makes you look out for, that person's done something nice for me. Maybe I could talk about that question. I need to do something nice for someone today because I'm going to get asked that question later on. And then what am I looking forward to? Just like me forward, and it's always important to have something to look forward to, which is good.
Yeah, I love that, and I think it actually, from a science and evidence-based place, it actually helps to rewire the brain, because, as you said, we do have a negativity bias as a species. We were always trained, millions of years ago, to constantly be on the lookout for danger and how it is that we could naturally survive. Whereas these days we don't see those threats as the tigers of the tribes. We see them as other people, where we really have to blame and we have the sense of othering, whereas we actually can't, and it's been proven that we can't be judgmental and blaming and have that sense of even inner criticism at the same time as we can find that opportunity to be grateful or be kind or be compassionate. So if we can start to actually invite ways of doing that, or even to just start to switch that just slightly, even in our own minds, then that other, like as you said, that negativity and that judgmental space and the inner critic and all of that can even just start to soften even the littlest bit, and that's so important. And something else which you mentioned there, which I loved, was that notion of prehab. So many people, and I know I really resonated with you when you talked about growing up in Ireland and well-being not necessarily being on the radar, maybe physical health a little bit, but mental health and how you would prioritize that was never spoken about or something you thought about. And often we get to these practices or tools or whatever because we have been challenged. But how can we start to incorporate stuff like that as you said, prehab, to ensure that when we get to the hard stuff or the challenging times, that those times become like a ripple in a lake versus like a tsunami. They don't shake us so much to our core. It just feels like, okay, this is hard, but I'll get through. And that's what I guess that does, which was never a focus for us, I think, growing up. But we have to take that responsibility in our own hands. No one really can do that for us.
Absolutely. And like, as you're saying, we're all imperfect. There's no one perfect. We all make mistakes. We all mess up constantly. There's like a Japanese philosophy of artwork. I think it's called wabi sabi. So it's basically artwork, and it's say a bowl, and it's all bowl is broken, and then it's put back together like bowl, whatever, cement or something like that, and it's beautiful when after it's broken. And I think it's a great message for everyone. Like, everyone, like you aren't defined by one thing you do. You aren't defined by who you are 5 years ago. You aren't defined even who you are 5 minutes ago. You can always be a different person. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone is imperfect, and it's how you show up, and how you do anything is how you do everything. There's always a point here. You can always start from 2 seconds, or what's that saying about when's the best place to, or when's the best time to plant a tree? It's best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. When's the next time to plant a tree is right now. So you can always, in terms of me, you can always start that fitness journey. You can always start your well-being journey. You're not defined who you are now. You're not defined who you were 5 years ago. You need to change. If you want to change, you can be that person you want to be. You can change that mentality by shifting your mindset.
So true. Every moment is an opportunity to start again, right? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And people have such, I think, big outcomes and expectations and stuff, and that's brilliant as well. And I think you learn as you get a bit older, just expectations around things. They're sometimes dangerous, and it's so exciting to have those expectations, but expect little, or expect the worst. Sometimes expecting the worst outcome is the best outcome, because you are not let down that way. You could talk. I guess you could talk about that statement for ages, dig deeper into it, but I guess we're glazing over it. I guess what else could we could talk about. I think courage is a big word used a lot of days, in podcasts and books and things like that. And what is courage, and how can you show courage, and does that align with your values and expectations of yourself, or your expectations of each other as well? So, courage for me and courage for you might be totally different things. Courage is, getting out of bed in the morning for some people.
One foot in front of the other, for sure.
Yeah, some people are nervous, new people. Courage is, trying to meet a new person once or twice a year. That's massive. The definition of courage. Yeah, the definition of courage is, it's massive for everyone. It's along a different line. All right.
You touched on the importance of community for you, and I'd love you to talk a little bit more about that, around what does community mean to you in terms of both from supporting your mental health, your well-being, but also I mean, as being an expat away from Ireland, and you know, in the years that we've had in terms of not being had that opportunity to go home, like us being almost like family away from home. What does community mean to you?
Yeah, great question. It was literally not not a hope I would have gone 3, 6, 4 days swimming in the sea without a community around me. There's not a hope I would have even got up in the morning, some mornings, without a community around me. There's that saying that one horse pulls 8 ton and two horses pull 32 ton or something like that. So the power of community is just absolutely massive. And you have those blue zones all around the world. There's one in the Mediterranean. I think there's one in Japan and South America somewhere. And these people in these blue zones, they live much higher than the expected age of people all around the world. The number one thing that helps them live the longer is they're part of the community. They are contributing constantly to the community. It's not all take. It's a lot more give. Um, the Dalai Lama, his book and his mantra would have been a lot of you by giving you receive more, and it's people can do work around their purpose about what's the meaning of life, like why are you here, and are you here to get up every morning at 7 o'clock, work your arse off till 5 o'clock, uh, do the same thing again for 6 days a week? Is that why you're on? And that is important. Hard work is important, and I respect people who do that. But is it a means to an end? What's the purpose behind it? Is there a bigger picture for you out there? Why you've been put on this planet? How can you contribute to society a bit more? Can you help others? And by helping others, as I've said probably 10 times already, you're actually getting more out of it yourself. With the Snob Squad community, definitely we have supported each other, and I've got massive support from them over the last 2 years now. We've done some amazing things that we never thought we could do. When I started swimming, I just wanted to be able to swim, to those yellow boys out in the bay for like 100 meters. Getting out there was massive for me. And then at the moment, like I just did a 2.5 this morning. That's a regular kind of weekend for the group because someone is always pushing us on and things like that. And they say like you become the average of the 5 people you're around. So just very lucky to have that community around. I think Irish people out here, and you probably see it a lot actually as well, they really stand up, look at each other, and you're new here, or if you're going through a hard time, I think it's ingrained in us just to help each other out, show that compassion, show that empathy for each other. They always say, talking to my Aussie friends out here, or people meet when they're in Ireland, they talk about everyone always just had time to talk, and that's so important, just to have that time with people, and let them whatever events, give them advice but if they don't, just even listen to what they have to say. We've got those horizontal and vertical relationships, and how they go together with different people, and how you want to show up, and it's like being real with people, and being like playful with people, being trying to have I actually read something the other day, and they were kind of talking about customer service, but it's a good one for life as well. Like everyone you meet, imagine that they've got like a sign on them, say, "Can you make me happy?" So having that mentality sometimes as well, is
It's a nice way to go around the world.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
So true. I think, yeah, you touched on a few notions there around that element of showing up for one another and being a support, you know, on the days where someone else needs it, but also knowing that you have that community to be a support for you too, even on the days where you don't even know that you need it, you know, but then actually by going and showing up. And I know from communities that I've been part of, like the days, especially when it comes to the sea, you know, it's always those days where the water is awful and it's choppy as hell and it's probably raining down, but they're the days that you remember because they're the days that count the most, because you would never show up on your own, but you do show up for each other in that regard. Also, as you said, to have that aspect of, okay, how can I be of service to others? And, you know, how does leading your life under that lens of being of service in a way that's something greater than you, and recognizing that, you know, the whole world doesn't revolve around you, but how you contribute to the world. And when you can change that dial, you know, and flip that switch, then that's when you do get a whole lot more meaning and purpose. And you talked about with the Stoics, you know, on your deathbed, is it going to be a case where you look back and regret all the, you know, the hours that you didn't work, or, you know, all the other things that you could have done? Or is it how, you know, kind you were and the relationships that you built and the connections that you fostered throughout your life, and the times of support, but also, as you said, the times of play and joy? And, you know, that's really what life is about, isn't it? It's not, you know, the scroll, and their life is better than mine, you know, on Instagram, whatever that might be. It's actually, you know, what we were really brought together for, which was to be part of a community and help lift each other up, for sure.
Yeah, that's such a good message. Again, yeah, we all definitely get caught up on social media, and you know, the days that you're. I think you did. Were you telling me before you've done a silent retreat?
Yeah.
How was that? Or that was,
I was only speaking to someone about it this morning. It's something that I nearly forgot that I did. Yeah, it was 10 days where it was 10 hours a day meditating, and yeah, no speaking, no eye contact, no reading, no writing, nothing. But, you know, out of all of that, and we love a good chat, the hardest thing for me was the no eye contact, because of that social interaction, because you don't have that. And how important that is for us as social creatures, you know, that you remember why it is that we were brought here. It's to be part of one another's lives, you know, to move forward with each other. Whereas, you know, being alone with your own thoughts is challenging in and of itself, but actually having others to move through life with together, that's really where meaning comes from for me. So yeah, it was an interesting experience, that's for sure.
do you think not having that, we'll say, contact, and not having that, able to talk to people, did it make you appreciate when you went back to the normal life a bit more? Or?
Oh, for sure, for sure. Like the simplest things, like eye contact, and, you know, those meaningful connections. When you talk about it, like you talked a little bit about earlier on, when the walls come down and you can just allow yourself to be vulnerable, and it's actually just a human to a human, rather than all the layers that sometimes we place up against ourselves, and the labels and all the things. You know, it's like that recognition that you're human, I'm human, no one has this thing figured out. We're all just finding our way and doing the best that we can. But that was something that really came to mind for me. I was like, yeah, okay, remember that. Yeah.
Yes, definitely some days when I get caught up with social media. I kind of, during lockdown, actually, I had a little kind of strategy for myself. So when it was during the daytime, I wasn't allowed to go near social media and stuff. I'd erase all the apps on my phone. And then during nighttime, I download them again. And sometimes, like, I was like a crack addict, getting on it again like that for the first few times. But then I kind of didn't really, you know, went on longer and longer. I got a bit better at it. But it is good sometimes to have, and I really admire people who do that digital detox and step away from that a lot of the time. And, you know, it is it is a way to communicate, I guess, but it's good sometimes to leave it to the side, and then I guess you have a bit more appreciation for actual connection and stuff like that afterwards, just like you did.
That's it. And we think we're so connected because we have access to all these people, you know, 24/7. But it's actually when you step away from the phones and the devices, that's where the real connection counts for sure. But yeah, this was absolutely flown. I feel like we could stay chatting and yapping for the day, but I am very appreciative and mindful of your time. So I want to just, I guess, before we go, if anyone is listening to this either live or a little bit later on and they want to find more out about you and the work that you do, how can they do that? How can they reach you?
Awesome. Thanks, Ash. I run a boot camp called Push Your Limits. So you can either search that on Instagram, or else my Instagram is Dara Blake PT. So that's for personal training, group sessions, corporate stuff, anything like that. That's the easiest way to get onto me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And then I guess the very last thing is always, again, pay it forward. Is there anything that we can do to be of service to you or help you out in any way? Or is there an ask that you might have of anyone watching, or a bit of advice?
No, I'm pretty good at the moment. Just keep winning the morning, guys. You can tag me and Ash on your videos for winning the morning, and we'll be very proud of you if you keep on doing that. But great, Ash. Really enjoyed this, and always good catching up with you. So have a great day, and hope you're looking after yourself.
Me too. Thank you so much, Dara. Have a great day, and I look forward to chatting to you soon.
You too. Have a great day. Take it easy.
See ya. Bye.
All right.